Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. We are now in season 6 and have over 3,000 recordings. Today, I am delighted to welcome a very senior and respected mindset coach and author from the UK, Nina Cooke. Nina, welcome to the show.
It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you. Nina is a mindset coach. She's also the co-author of a book titled Renegade Mindset, a financial advisor's guide to a peak performance mindset. So Nina, my first question, tell me a little bit about your own journey into mindset coaching and what inspired you to focus specifically on entrepreneurs.
My journey really started because I didn't have enough confidence growing up to put myself forward. I used to believe that the best way to keep myself safe as a child was to hide, to make sure I didn't get my family's attention. When I started my first online business back in 2005, it was a personal shopping business. I had a really great team of personal shoppers, makeup artists who worked directly with the clients. My job was the sales and marketing, so I was able to do it from behind my desk.
Right.
The way that I got clients was through Google Ads. Again, I could be anonymous. I didn't have to market openly.
Right.
I didn't have my name. I didn't have my face on my website. So I was still hiding as if I was a child. I remember I got a really big corporate booking from an accountancy firm in London. They hired me to do a big pampering session for their senior female staff and their senior female clients. So I took along a team of 20 personal stylists, makeup artists, manicurists. They all set up their stations. Everything was ready to go. And I thought, this is a really great opportunity for me to talk to the senior managers and see if I can get some more bookings for them from them. And I remember I started walking towards a group of these senior managers, and then I suddenly stopped dead. And I thought, I can't talk to them because they'll realize that there's something wrong with me. They'll see that I'm not good enough, and they'll wonder why they ever booked this session with me. So I found a half dark office and I hid there for the rest of the evening.
Wow.
And on the way home, it was a dark November evening, and I sat in the train and I looked at my reflection in the window and I thought, you've just messed it up again. You've lost another great opportunity. You keep doing this again and again. And I recognized the pattern that I kept repeating by hiding. And I realized that now was the time that I had to do something about it. I had 4 young children. I wanted to be a really good role model for them. I wanted to be authentically confident within myself rather than pretending. And I decided that whatever it took, I was going to find a way to fix myself. I believed that there was I was missing something that everyone else had, and that's what made me inferior to everyone else. And so I started a long journey of personal development. I did lots of trainings. I worked with coaches. I went to workshops, online seminars, books, everything I could grab hold of, because I had one condition. Whatever I decided to do was going to have to give me permanent change. It couldn't be temporary change. It had to fix me permanently. And many things I tried didn't give me that result. They gave me temporary relief, and then I went back to how I was before. And then finally I met a coach, an American coach, and he said, the only reason you feel you're not good enough and you feel inferior to everyone else is because you believe these beliefs that you've made up are true about you. So he said, we have to make you stop believing them. So he helped me to do that. He used his methodology on me. It was very effective. And I went from thinking I'm not good enough to thinking I'm as good as everyone else. And I started marketing in a much bolder way. I started putting videos out there, talking to people, putting up my prices. And because I started marketing in a completely different way, I started booking really nice big corporate clients like Goldman Sachs, Sky, because I felt equal to them. I understood my value for the first time. And then because I did that, my profits started rising. And I thought, well, that's interesting. As I worked on my mindset and became more confident in myself, my profits rose. And I saw that direct link between mindset and profits. I thought, well, if I can do this for myself, that can help other entrepreneurs who lack confidence, don't have self-belief. And then I lost interest in my personal shopping business because my interest was now on mindset and the solid foundation it creates in our lives to help us to not just make more money, but to feel more fulfilled, to feel happier in what we do.
Correct.
And that was so satisfying for me.
Oh, wonderful. What a great response. Thank you for sharing this story with me. You also talk about creating an unstoppable mindset. How do you define unstoppable?
That is a very good question. Subjectively, I define unstoppable as feeling you can have what you want, that everything is possible for you. Now, this isn't just to say, well, I just sit there all day and I think, well, I can just have whatever I want. I don't have to do anything. We do have to take action. And the interesting thing is that we all want more, but very few of us are prepared to do what it takes to have more. An unstoppable mindset for me is to have a very clear, bold goal, and then to make sure that your habits and your actions and behavior are aligned with that goal. So there's two things. There's the inner work, and then the inner work, when it becomes very strong, it helps you to change your habits and behavior so you do achieve that goal. So it's the first step is to know what you want. And I've always said, you've got to think big. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to think about having the bigger house and making more money and all of this stuff, all this material stuff. Thinking big is also about thinking about what you truly love doing. It may be that you want to, go and live in a very remote place in nature, doing something you absolutely love doing. That is thinking boldly because you're thinking about what you want, not about what society wants or your family wants or what, you should be doing. It's really about thinking what gives me pleasure, what makes me happy, and incorporating that into your goal. And it's a very subjective thing. It's having a very, very clear goal. And then when you have that goal, making sure you create an emotional connection to it, because when most people set a goal, it feels very distant. It feels out there. Maybe one day I'll get it, but it's not going to be easy for me to get it. Maybe I'll never be able to do it because people like me don't have those sorts of results. So it's finding a way of creating that goal and then embodying it. So you've got to think about it all the time and focus on it. And this is why always do the first thing I do with my clients. I ask them to write down their goals. We have to decide what the goal is, then write them on the card. And you carry this card around with you and you look at it all day long. And what that does, it takes it from being something abstract out there. You start becoming familiar with the goal. And anything we become familiar with, we feel we can have that. So as it becomes familiar to you, then the opportunities and the ideas start percolating.
Right.
The opportunities show up and then you think, well, that's interesting. That's come into my life, but you've drawn it into your life because you're thinking about this. So whatever you put your focus on in life is what you bring into your life. So if you're focusing on lack, scarcity, I don't have enough money, it's really hard to get more clients, life is really difficult, oh, look at the economy. If we keep focusing on that stuff, you're just going to make that a familiar story in your mind, and then you will bring more of that in, more of those opportunities in which you don't want. So it's really, really important to make sure you know what you want, and then you saturate your mind, your thinking with it. And then it just becomes like, yeah, I've got this. I've had this, because you become so used to thinking about it. It becomes your dominant thought. And then your subconscious mind, which is your goal-seeking machine, it grabs that dominant idea and then it builds the bridges so you start seeing it happening in your reality.
Very well said. The other aspect of coaching entrepreneurs is, you see them through their highs and their lows. How do you coach entrepreneurs to become resilient when they face their inevitable setbacks in business?
Yes, and there are inevitable setbacks. The most successful people in the world still have setbacks. It's getting them to think about this in a completely different way. A setback is just valuable feedback. We get more data about what works and what doesn't work, and then we can tweak it. We need a starting point. So we need to take some action in our business to be able to get that information so we can improve it. Rejection is a very big fear, not just for entrepreneurs, but generally in life. So it's looking at failure, is looking at a rejection in a very positive way to say that these are the steps that are necessary to get you to where you want to be. And when entrepreneurs think about taking a risk in their business, about doing something different, they sometimes come up against this thinking, it's not going to work. I'm going to spend time and money on it. It's not going to work. I'm going to feel like a failure. No one's going to want what I have. People won't want to spend the money on what I have. And therefore, they talk themselves out of it because they're not clear on what they want. This is why this is so important.
Right.
When you are motivated, when you have the desire to have this, nothing will stop you. There's a really very famous personal development teacher, Earl Nightingale. And he talked about two different hardships. There's a hardship of having to create new habits, make new behavior to achieve our goals. So it may be reaching out to 3 new prospects every day. It may be following up with prospects. It may be putting your offer out there. It may be raising your prices. So these are the hardships that we feel are too difficult for us to do to get our goal. Even though we want more in life, we just think it's too difficult for us to do this. Very successful people, they will do those difficult things.
Right.
They know their hardships because you're creating a new habit, a new behavior, which is always very difficult at the beginning. But very successful people will do whatever it takes to get what they want. So they will take that difficult action, which most people will resist taking. And then the funny thing about that hardship, it feels difficult at the beginning, but as you keep doing it, it becomes a habit. It becomes easier and easier and easier. It's like starting an exercise routine. It can feel very difficult. You feel stiff at the beginning. You can't move as well. You haven't got the energy. But as you keep doing it, if you were to do that 3 times a week, in month 2 or 3, you would get more energy. You will become more agile. You will start seeing the results. That's what successful people do. They will take the new habits and they will implant them in their life to do that. And they get the results they want. So that's one hardship. The other hardship is the hardship of settling for mediocrity and for disappointment in life. Most people will choose that hardship. So we always have a choice. Whenever we think, I need to do that, I don't want to do it, think, which hardship am I going to settle for? Am I going to settle for the hardship of creating this new habit because I know it's going to get me to my goal? Or am I going to settle for the hardship of settling for mediocrity and disappointment? That's the shift we need to make in our thinking.
Right. Very interesting. When I was reading about you and preparing for my conversation, I was also fascinated to read about mindset, authority, and confidence. And you talk about there being a relationship between these 3. Tell me more about the relationship between mindset, authority, and confidence.
This goes back to my childhood. I had an older sister who was, she was a narcissist. And she was very controlling. And I believe I grew up with a fear of authority because she was an authority figure in my life and I was scared of her. So I grew up not challenging people in authority. I was scared to talk to them. I was very nervous around them. And that really held me back in my corporate career because I believe I was passed over for promotions because I didn't establish good relationships with managers and seniors in my company. When I started removing my limiting beliefs, I'm not good enough, there's something wrong with me, it's not a safe world out there, it's dangerous to put myself out there to be visible. When I removed those limiting beliefs, I suddenly realized that people who were more senior to me were just like me. They were just people like me. They didn't have anything special I didn't have. They had more experience, maybe. They maybe had a more senior role. But actually, I was then able confidently to talk to anyone, whatever position they had in life, because I realized that we were the same. I had my value. I had things that I was very good at, and they had their value and things that they were very good at. But inherently, we were equals in this world.
Right.
So that really helped me then to talk to corporates about my programs, about my services, and charge my worth. So now I don't look in fear at authority figures and feel I'm less than them. I just think, okay, you've got your skill set and I've got my skill set. Maybe we can work together. Maybe we can collaborate and support each other. But I appreciate what you do. And I hope that you will appreciate what I do as well.
How interesting. How interesting. You also talk about the role of self-talk in creating a profit-driven mindset. Help me understand this and give me an example if you can.
This is one of my favorite topics, our mental chat that we have going on inside of us all the time. If we were to become aware of how we talk to ourselves, our mental diet, we would be shocked because we talk to ourselves mostly in a very negative, derogatory way. Oh, I'm never going to be able to do this. This is so hard. Oh, I failed again. That feels too difficult. Oh, and then we go back into our past and all the things people said to us that we didn't like and all the things people did that we didn't like. And then we take that into the future. They're going to be horrible to us again. I don't like so-and-so. The talk that we have, it is brutal. So what we need to do, because again, remember, your subconscious mind, which is like this very powerful computer, is just absorbing everything we're saying. So if our dominant thought is, I'm not going to make the money I want. It's really hard. Success is really difficult. I'm stuck here. It's just so difficult to go forward. All of these things. Then that dominant message will be absorbed by the subconscious mind and it will say, okay, I take this as your goal. It's a goal-seeking machine. So this is your goal, to feel like this about yourself. We'll go and get some more of this for you. So we have to be very, very careful about how we talk to ourselves. Yeah. The mental diet has to be clean, it has to be clear, and it has to have a very strong message connected to our goal. It has to go back to the goal all the time. Yeah. So you could say, right, what do I really want? Well, I want to have a thriving business. So you could start very simply by saying to yourself, I'm going to give a very clear message to my subconscious mind about my life. Now, the subconscious mind can't tell what's imagined in your mind and what's real in the 3D world. It will take anything you say and it will absorb it. So you have to start telling your subconscious mind a new story. I have a thriving business. I'm fully booked. I have all the money I want. Now, affirmations have had quite a bad press in some areas. They don't work. The reason they don't work is because you may say them a few times and then stop saying them. And then you go back to your old mental diet. The key thing with the self-talk, changing it, is you have to be consistent. You have to be committed to doing it. Even if it feels false to you, keep saying it, and you will become familiar with that new story. If you think about it, the story you've been telling yourself, you keep telling yourself, it's hard to make enough money. It's hard to have everything I want. You've been telling yourself that story, become very familiar with it. You tell it to yourself repetitively. So you know it works. Whatever you tell yourself repetitively is what you get. So now you have to change that story.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where most people will try it for a few days. No, not even a few days. They'll try it for a few minutes. They may even try it for a day, maybe go into the second day. And then they say, well, I've been doing this and it doesn't work. And then they'll look for the next thing. Consistency, persistence, determination. These are the things that work. If you were to learn a new musical instrument, practice. You have to practice every day to become a master. It's exactly the same thing. We have to get the discipline to be very strict with our thinking and say, nope, I'm not thinking that old story anymore. I'm going to create this new story and I'm going to keep telling myself this new story until it becomes a friend, until it becomes so familiar that I wake up first thing in the morning and that story is in my head.
Well said. So I have time for two more questions, and I'm going to move to your book. You're the co-author of a book titled Renegade Mindset, a financial advisor's guide to peak performance mindset. My question is, how does the concept of a renegade mindset differ from traditional approaches to mindset in financial advising?
It's the same.
Okay.
I work with coaches and consultants and financial advisors. They use different language, but their mindsets and how they get stuck is exactly the same because they're all business owners. They all face the same challenges, the challenges of not enough leads, not enough clients, not enough money, overwhelm, lack of focus, procrastination. They all suffer from the same things. So the work that I do with them is the same work, whether you're an advisor or a consultant or a coach. The reason that I wrote this book in particular, and everything I write in the book is applicable for every business owner, whatever industry you work in, is because I partnered up with a financial advisor who said that his financial advisor clients weren't doing the work they needed to do, the marketing and the sales, because they got stuck in their heads. And we get stuck in our heads, we build up a wall of resistance, and we talk ourselves out of taking the action that's going to help us to grow our business. So renegade mindset is really about shaking things up, about doing things differently, about dismantling the old and creating the new. And when you do that with intention, with focus, with your goal in mind, that is the formula that changes everything. But you can't just think about doing it. You have to actually put it into action in your life. So I'm going to come back to consistency, persistence, commitment. Those are the three qualities which will give you an amazing life.
Amazing. And my last question for you, Nina. What would you say is one key takeaway from your book that you would like our viewers and listeners to remember?
Become aware of your thinking and how you talk to yourself. An easy way to do that is to think about a particular situation. Maybe it's around making more money, having a more profitable business, and then write down everything that comes into your head. Capture that conversation in your head. You'll be shocked at the things you say. Write it down and then become aware of planting a new story, the opposite story in your thinking. It will be the most valuable thing you will ever do.
Wonderful. And on that note, Nina, I just want to say thank you for speaking to me about your incredible journey. I think it's fascinating how you went from e-commerce to coaching, and the story you shared with me about your own journey was so fascinating. We covered some interesting ground on unstoppable mindsets for entrepreneurs. You spoke about becoming resilient. You spoke about self-talk, which is so important, I guess. And we generally tend to forget about the little person sitting inside us telling us what is right and wrong, and we don't seem to listen to that individual. Thank you also for speaking to me about your book, Renegade Mindset, and your powerful message, Become Aware of Your Thinking. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.